Here we go, episode 82, uploaded and coming at you here on Horse Race Bets as we get into another weekend of action. First off, it's going to be a great weekend of racing across the country, coast to coast. So it's really up to you to decide which track or which circuit you want to focus in on. I'll tell you which one I'm digging a little bit later on. But first, let's get off to a great start with the good news from yesterday. Hey, we were able to hit with our play of the day, and it was awesome at Gulfstream Park. So yesterday we talked about race number 8 at Gulfstream Park on the turf course. And we really liked the horse, the 6 Stroke of Midnight. Lionel Reyes, we talk about how the fact he wins at 13 to 15%. He's a money rider that you'll get added value. And man, did we need all the racing luck because we just barely got there and won by just a nose to beat Mr. Abario, who was charging in the stretch. Great ride from our jockey. We got the setup we were looking for with the speed, and we pretty much retained the morning line value. It was 10 to 1 on the morning line. We ended up getting $20 back on your winner, so woohoo, that's awesome. Stroke of Midnight pays $20. That's another one of our plays of the day that brought back boxcars, as we call it there. So we're feeling good. We like what we do on the turf. Let's try it again. We've got a race coming up on the turf course. It'll be at Churchill Downs. Going to be 5 furlongs on the turf. We'll take a look at race number 8 on the card at Churchill Downs here on this Friday. Run for the Hills. If you're into Judas Priest, run for your lives. Run for the Hills is a runner that I think fits beautifully in here. And the reason why we're getting value is because a couple of the other runners are coming out of a big stakes race that took place on that Preakness undercard. And so the 6 and the 7 in the race are going to be really tough to deal with. Bling and I forgot the other horse's name, but they're going to be tough. Louis Saez is riding. But here's the thing. The 3 needed the race last time out. It was first off of a lengthy layoff for Mark Casse and Jose Ortiz. Runner has good early speed. That's a 110 mark for the early speed, which means they won't lose contact with his field. And I think Jose will be in a good spot. This horse likes to sit just off, not a deep closer. Wants to rate. You've got some speed all the way to the outside. Then you've got Paint You Later, the 2 horse with Rafael Bejarano, also has some speed. That should set up beautifully for a run for the hills. We'll take that runner. We're getting 6 to 1 on the morning line. I think they're going to float up because you've got those 2 strong runners coming out of the stakes race, and Luis Saez and Johnny V are riding the 6 and the 7. They'll get the play. Jose Ortiz will fly under the radar, and I think our 6 to 1 will float up. We're probably going to get, seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if we got 8 or 9 to 1, maybe even 10 to 1 post time on the 3 Run for the Hills. And you know we like that. We like that a lot. So we'll take that and make something happen on this Friday to continue with the momentum and carry us into the weekend where we expect to make some big things happen this weekend. Details on that coming up in a second. But so we set you up for the play today. Hopefully that'll come through for us. Racing luck is always needed. Now we get back into our discussion as we make our way to the 3rd jewel of the Triple Crown, Belmont Stakes. As I mentioned before, there are 2 ways to look at this. You can say, oh my God, this is going to be like a rematch for the ages with Sovereignty, and Baeza already committed. We believe journalism will go. So with those top 3, yeah, I guess that sounds exciting, but for me, I need a few more horses to make it interesting. Right? Think about this. You knew journalism was the horse to deal with in the Preakness. But if you don't have Gosker in the race, you don't have the excitement. So you have to have some other horses in there. They've got to have some competition. So maybe there's a chance we'll get a bigger than 6 horse field. People are talking about a 6 horse field for the Belmont. Man, I can never get excited about 5 and 6 horse fields in classic races, right? I don't know if it looks bad. I just don't like it. How about that? So we found out Gosker is out. McAfee is also going to another race. So now we're kind of looking for horses, and we're kind of asking trainers who have horses in training that are healthy, that are 3-year-olds. We're like, hey, you want to run, bro? So now the question goes to Todd Pletcher. And like all trainers, they say, hey, it's not out of the question, right? It's not out of the question for me to run Crudo or Grande in the Belmont. Now, Grande obviously was a horse that looked really good coming up into the Derby, had a foot issue, had to scratch out of the race. He has since had time to heal from that. My only question is his fitness, right? Is he still fit enough to deal with this going 1.25 miles in the Belmont? I wouldn't be surprised if he is. But the other horse that's getting some buzz, and it's the more unlikely of the two, is Crudo. And Crudo looked exceptional, winning the Sir Barton on the Preakness weekend undercard. And it was very impressive. Johnny jumped out there, Johnny V on the lead, and just cruised and ended up winning by 7+ lengths. So when you see something like that, and you look at this field, and like I said, I am not convinced that Rodriguez is going to run in this race. If you've had to cancel and scratch out of 2 races for foot issues, I just can't imagine you're going to be ready to go. So I'm sure he might be, but I'm just kind of erring on the side of caution. So if he's not there, now you don't have any speed in the race, and that's why a horse like Crudo and even Grande, that's why they're up for consideration. And that's why I wouldn't even be surprised if connections like, let's say, connections of Coal Battle, even though they said they don't want to go 1.25 miles, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a week out from that race and those connections decide to come in here and try to steal the money at the Belmont. But, that's for them to decide, us to dream about. But I'm dreaming of hopefully having a much bigger field than 5 or 6 horses, because I just don't like it at all. All right. That will handle itself, right? Whatever field is there, that's who we're going to bet for Belmont. That's going to be a crazy weekend, by the way. All those races shaping up to be very competitive, except for the Belmont Stakes. All right. So that's coming up. What are we going to do this weekend? Look, there are great cards because the weather's getting nice here on the West Coast. So there are great cards from coast to coast that you can choose from. You can go with Churchill this weekend. You can go with Gulfstream. You can go with the action in New York. It's going to be really, really nice this weekend. You've got Monmouth, of course, you're coming your way. You've got an exceptional weekend. Lone Star. Lone Star Park's going to have great racing coming up this weekend. But I've decided I'm going to stay close to home. Now, here's the reason why. First off, it's Calbred Day. And I'm kind of a huge fan of that racing in Southern California. I've had some of my biggest days when they honor Calbreds. So they're going to do that on Saturday with Hollywood Gold Cup weekend. I do not care about the Hollywood Gold Cup. It's not a bad race, and that's coming up on Monday. And then Sunday, there are good races as well. But Saturday, for me, the late pick 5, there are not a lot of horses, but it's enough to make it extremely competitive. And the reason why I also like it, quite a bit, in fact, is that I've been able to whittle it down. And I'm going to play one of my big tickets. And what I mean by that is I'm only using a few horses, but I'm going to play a big ticket, meaning a $5 pick 5. Because I'm only using a few horses and I've got singles in there that I feel like I don't really want to try to beat them. So I'm going to enhance my value by playing a larger denomination. And we'll get into details on that coming up Saturday morning to get you ready. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to put out a big ticket that's going to cost you more than like $50, but it's going to be for $5, meaning if you hit that, it's going to... And I've done this like 2 or 3 times successfully, where I've taken single, spread, played it for $5, right? Turned a ticket that was going to pay maybe $700 and turned it into a, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 return. That's what we're looking for. We'll do that on Saturday. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Horse Race Bets. In the meantime, in between time, and until next time, hey, you need to stay with me. Even if you don't play my play of the day, take a look at it. That's why it's there. You don't have to follow me, but take a look at it and see if you agree, or see if you see another horse in that particular race that's got better chance to win, and you play that. But you got to stick around and pay attention. The details are really important. All right. We'll see you next time. Until then, good luck and enjoy whatever you're into.